If you are just joining us, this is Cranberry Thunderfunk's Dota stream. I am Cranberry Thunderfunk, and I am quite pleased to bring you a game between Team Empire and Fnatic in StarLadder Season 6, just towards the end of the regular season. So the LAN finals will be coming up. Fnatic has qualified. I do not believe Empire has.
Radiant team banned.
Empire has been having a fair amount of trouble in the last few months, ever since they lost Funnick to Na'Vi, as well as Goblak and Silent to DD Dota, which is now Quantic Gaming. All of the old roster on Team Empire were very strong, and they were a really good team when they were together.
10 seconds remaining.
However, it does not seem that they've been able to
5 seconds remaining.
to recover. They've built a new
Radiant
squad.
team banned.
Sort of. They've gone through a number of different carry players and supports, and they also picked up lightofheaven from Na'Vi. Scandal, blowyourbrain, and lightofheaven are all
10
quite
seconds
good players. So the basis is there for Team Empire, but it just doesn't seem that they've been able to find the other two to round out their squad and find cohesion and a consistent strategy that works for them. They did very poorly. They absolutely bombed out in the international Western qualifiers. Didn't win a single game, and the games were not even particularly close. So I really like Empire. Scandal, I remember him from Han very fondly. I mean, I would love to see him succeed.
Dire team
And of course,
banned.
lightofheaven, pretty fond of him as well.
Radiant team
Plus, as a team, historically, they're always good sports. They play well.
Radiant team picked.
Though it's hard to compare them to their old roster because of all the changes that have happened. So we'll see how it turns out.
Team banned.
Looking at the picks and bans here, some interesting first bans from Fnatic, getting rid of Bane and Darkseer. The first bans lately have really changed up a lot. Treant Protector has been a popular first ban. Getting rid of that living armor. I'll be curious to see if he makes it through this game in either ban or pick form. Bane
5 seconds.
traditionally has been a very popular hero for Empire, but that was in the days of Silent and Goblak, and I believe it was always Silent that played Bane.
Radiant team banned.
But the Bane ban very clearly to support their Fnatic's Lifestealer pickup, and Bane is also strong against Lone Druid. Fnatic picking up that nerf Lone Druid. I haven't seen a lot of teams going Lone Druid since the nerf. I hear rumors that there are plenty of games with him, but I just haven't seen them. And I imagine that will be...
Radiant team banned.
That'll probably be Trixi on a Lone Druid with Era on Lifestealer. So Fnatic, they'll probably have to put Lone Druid in the safe lane. I think because of the bounty, the massively increased bounty on Lone Druid's bear, sending him into the off lane is no longer the option that it used to be. Even in games for 6.77, where Lone Druid went into the off lane, he could lose the bear twice or more, and still be a presence later in the game, and it wouldn't be too much of a problem, particularly if he was able to delay it for as long as possible. If he loses both of his bears early on, then that's a pretty huge issue, honestly, because then he can't jungle. He's missing some of his items because they were on the bear.
5 seconds remaining.
But that's no longer viable, because if you lose your bear even just once, that's 300 gold. Twice, that's 600. It's really too much to be risking giving up. So the only time that you'll see Lone Druid in the off lane now is in a 1v1 circumstance where the bear is not going to go down. So if Lone Druid is in the safe lane, that will put Lifestealer in the off lane, probably as an aggressive tri lane. Keeper Light is an uncommon pick for an aggressive tri lane, but it works. The harass from Illuminate is very strong. but it requires a really good setup stun or long-range slow to be viable. Empire picks up the Batrider, likely for Scandal. So I imagine that will be a Batrider mid. Although, I don't know if Empire's running Scandal mid or offlane these days, because when... At one point, a few months ago, they switched Scandal to the 3-roll. I don't know with their roster changes if they've switched him back. They get the Weaver as well, and I like Weaver against Lone Druid and Lifestealer. Time Lapse is a good way of dealing with the Entangle.
10 seconds remaining.
Him with Lifestealer is really
5 seconds
high
remaining.
damage output and the slow from open wounds. Plus, he's just a really mobile hero. The
Reserve time.
Shikuchi is I believe that also negates the slow from open wounds. So he has several ways of dealing with how Lifestealer and Lone Druid tend to operate. And with the Shadow Demon, that's another thing that I like, is that the Disruption Soul Catcher combo works really well with Weaver. He can get in there and Shikuchi, get several auto attacks off, and the Soul Catcher works best with heroes that are able to get they're bursty. They don't have to be pure burst damage, a la Lena or Leshrac or what have you.
Lena.
But as opposed to some other carries, he can really
Team back.
pump out good damage. And if this is an aggressive tri-lane by Empire, it's a very strong one. They've got a great setup stun with Disruption into Light Strike Array, good damage output, and Weaver should be able to get fantastic farm. It's also 3 ranged heroes, which means
Dire
really
team
nice
back.
harass. And if they're up against a Lifestealer, then they're going to have a good time.
Storm Spirit has arrived.
So Fnatic rounds out their lineup with a Storm Spirit. He'll be headed middle. I worry a little bit for Fnatic's tri-lane. I think a Rubik it's okay to combo with Keeper of the Light, but he doesn't benefit from the mana as much as other heroes. And it makes me think maybe they will run the defensive tri-lane, especially
10
with
seconds
this
remaining.
potentially aggressive tri-lane from Empire.
5 seconds remaining.
I feel like Empire would be wasting the potential of their supports by going
Reserve
defensive.
time.
They have so much killing power, they have great damage. I think they
10
could
seconds
really
remaining.
make the try versus try work for them.
Sky Wrath Mage.
So it won't be a Batrider mid. If Empire does the aggressive tri-lane, then he'll be in the safe lane, or he'll be in the off lane if they go defensive. Skywrath is a good pick versus Storm Spirit. He's equipped with a very long duration silence, and Storm Spirit suffers greatly from silence. That said, if Storm Spirit is able to get an early level advantage, or not level advantage, gold advantage, and pick up a BKB, then Skywrath, his effectiveness drops by quite a bit. And Skywrath is also not great versus Lifestealer or Lone Druid. Lone Druid is very unlikely to be caught out in the Mystic Flare, and his bear also is too tanky
10 seconds remaining.
for Skywrath to be very effective in harassing him out.
5 seconds
And
remaining.
Lifestealer can just over and over again rage and not worry about Skywrath's damage. That said, if he's silenced, he can't rage. So it'll depend on good play from Scandal. Fast forward a bit here. Not sure what the nature of this pause is. Could be a long one. We'll see. I imagine Fnatic is just trying to figure out their lanes. That's usually what these early pauses are. For Fnatic, Notail is going to be playing Rubik, Era on Lifestealer, and Fly on Keeper of the Light headed towards that defensive tri-lane. Hanni will be playing Storm Spirit headed middle, and Trixi playing Lone Druid. He's headed up towards top lane, which suggests to me that perhaps he'll be in the jungle, which would mean an abandoned lane for Fnatic, and if this is a defensive tri-lane from Empire, I think that's probably the right choice. They have no way of contesting that. And you know, Trixi certainly can't. Way too risky. But he can, however, farm the jungle pretty decently. For Empire, Light of Heaven will be playing Batrider. Stand-in Sunlight will be playing Shadow Demon.
30
And
seconds to
another
go.
stand-in FNG will be playing Lina. Blow Your Brain on Weaver, forming that what now appears to be a defensive tri-lane. Somewhat unfortunately, I feel. Scandal playing Skywrath, likely headed mid, and Light of Heaven will almost certainly be going to the offlane. Trixi is down here. Heading into the
The
offlane
battle begins.
against what basically everything that I previously said. So that's a little unfortunate. For me, anyways. I will be very curious to see if Trixi gets anything out of this this lane. He's really got to be careful with that bear. Feeding 300 gold, that's like first blood. Manages to dodge Light Strike Array. That's where this is going to be the most action we have for the first few minutes here. The stun lands. Can FNG get a good block off? He is so far. This is some nice blocking from Lina. Sunlight manages to pull one of the creeps off, which will deny a little bit of experience to Trixi. So a very costly. Oh no! Actually, it looks like Trixi's lost a couple creeps here. This is one of the challenges of particularly this route. Because when you get up here, the vision is immediately lost, and so you have to get one creep up to maintain vision of the Spirit Bear. I'm not sure what Trixi's goal is here. Oh, okay, he's delaying the creep wave by keeping this creep here. But it's very tricky to get the creep up over the ledge because they have to have vision in order to keep chasing. Otherwise, they're just gonna run right back. And actually, Sunlight was able to turn that into a very nice pull for himself. The two creeps came back, and he pulled them back over here. Oh, that works. Does not doesn't completely work. That's kind of cool. Yeah, he was able to get basically a second pull off for his lane, which also denied yet more creeps to Trixi. So Trixi has decided to rotate into the jungle, send his bear back to heal, and he got this appears to be a triple stacked easy camp. He may be able to pull some of the nope, it's been nerfed too hard. He used to be able to pull the easy camp on Dire side up into the top lane. Honestly, it was a little overpowered, particularly because it offers Dire 3 ways to pull creeps into the lane as opposed to the Radiance 1. So they nerfed the leash range on the easy camps on both sides because Radiant was also able to pull their easy camp into the mid lane. So that the timing has to be absolutely perfect, and it's really hard. In fact, impossible, I believe, if one of these ghosts is in the camp because it applies a 20% slow. And that means that particularly most of these creeps have movement speed high enough to keep up with you and perform auto attacks, which slows their overall movement, making it harder to get them to move as far as you need them to reach the wave. So you can really only do it with specific types of camps. Fly helps out with the stack with some illuminates, and Trixi's on his way to start farming. Over in mid, let's take a look at the last hits here. Hanni versus Scandal, I think early on, should be an even matchup. Perhaps slightly favoring Scandal because Scandal's harass is very reliable. Continual arcane bolts, especially combined with silence, can make sure that Hanni's taking a lot of damage. The other nice thing about Skywrath is the silence applies a hefty 18% damage boost for magic on your target, and combos very nicely with Arcane Bolt. Blow Your Brain, down in bottom lane, basically neck and neck with Era. 23 and 10 on him versus 26 and 13 on Era, which is to be expected. These are both two abandoned lanes. So no surprises there.
Is under attack.
Things should start to get more exciting as heroes start to hit level 6. It'll be a while before Empire's supports are anywhere near there,
Dire's bottom tower is
but for
under
both of
attack.
these mids, their potential
Dire's
is
structures are
very much
fortified.
unlocked
Radiant's top tower is
by
under
hitting
attack.
6, and I think more so for Empire. Fnatic has a number of lanes that are
Dire's
possible to be
bottom tower
ganked.
is under attack.
Whereas Empire, it's hard to gank this tri-lane. It's dangerous. Especially, they've all hit level 3 now, so all of their basic utility is there. Except for Lina, she hasn't quite
Dire's
got there, but that's
bottom
okay.
tower
Lina
has fallen.
just needs those first 2 levels. Oh, Hanni's taking so much damage. One more Arcane Bolt, and he could be in trouble. He does not have 6 to jump away, so Scandal picks up the first blood onto Hanni, and that's the difference of
Dire's
just a handful of
tower
denies,
is under attack.
giving him a single level advantage, which that's an extra level in Arcane Bolt, and that's a lot more damage. So Era is actually infested inside this creep, which is about to be denied. Immediately pops the Rage, so Flame Break will do nothing. Empire has to be careful here. They eat a level 2 Illuminate. Era gets hit by the Light Strike Array. FNG, he's got 55 HP. Narrowly dodges the Illuminate, so very nice juking from FNG to save his own life. Good play by Era as well. Just barely making it out. It looked pretty bad for him there, but so Blow Your Brain and Era continue to be neck and neck.
Tower is under attack.
There's a 1 tower advantage with that bot tier 1 going down for Empire. But otherwise, I imagine the gold. Yeah, that's the difference of 1 tower.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
You need to remember not to look at the gold graphs before 10 or 15 minutes in games like this. It just doesn't mean a whole lot. In more active games where things are not so passive, the graphs can mean quite a bit. But with professional teams that don't miss last hits, that are getting all the pulls off, these passive periods of the game, both teams are pretty much getting the same out of the map. And Blow Your Brain has rotated up to top, so now 3 up top for Empire. The lasso is up on Light of Heaven, so it is possible. And actually, there's an Invis rune on Scandal. There's a lasso onto Era. He's already popped the Rage, so he's going to be in trouble here. If Scandal can land the slow, followed by the Mystic Flare, he's going to eat a lot of damage. Infest is up, so he takes some of the damage from Mystic Flare, eats another Arcane Bolt. He's still silenced. Rage comes off cooldown just soon enough, but one more auto attack from Blow Your Brain, and he goes down. Meanwhile, at mid, there are 3 here for Fnatic, and they are able to pick up Lina. It's an okay trade. That's the least underlevel or most underleveled support on Empire, and is not a carry like Era. So not a great trade for Fnatic, but at least they do find a kill, going towards, most importantly, Hanni, helping him recover a little bit from that early first blood to Scandal. Trixi's doing okay. His last hits are starting to catch up. He's matched evenly with Hanni at this point, which Hanni is the mid. That means he's doing pretty well. He would really like to just be left alone to farm for a while, but I don't think that Empire is going to allow that to happen. There's a smoke up on FNG and Sunlight. They're coming around from behind, and just one disruption on Trixi, and he's going to be in trouble. There's the disruption. There's a Light Strike Array. A few more last hits, and he goes down. An easy kill for Empire. And a pretty, I would say, direct lack of... It's caused by a lack of wards from Fnatic right now. They need Trixi to be getting that farm, but he can't get it if there are no wards. Now, admittedly, they did
Radiant's
smoke
top
up,
tower
but
is under attack.
one of the benefits of wards is, even more than providing the specific vision of where heroes are, you see where they aren't. And that's the thing about smokes, is that you can get a pretty good sense for when they're coming, because you know where heroes ought to be if things are going normally. You can know where they ought to be on the map. But without vision, it's just too impossible to guess. They could be anywhere. They could be farming the jungle. They could be up top, waiting in the sidelines. There's just too many possibilities to try and account for. The Trixi heads back down towards the bottom lane. I think he's determined that this is the only place where he's going to get any decent amount of farm, which for the moment he'll be able to do that. And third pause in this game, which I will quickly fast forward through. Excellent. And this will be good for him as long as Empire is distracted elsewhere on the map. The only problem is that Fnatic, they're not great at pressuring towers. There's a jump in onto Scandal. Hanni, there's a great disruption from Sunlight though. And Hanni's now out of mana. He doesn't have a lot more to offer in this fight. So what looked like a really great initiation was a really nice save from Sunlight, keeping Scandal alive. And honestly, that disruption saved his life, because Scandal would have eaten at least one more. Oh, Era has found Scandal, but he did not get the rage off in time. So he ate a full Mystic Flare combined with two Arcane Bolts before he was able to get the rage off. Finish off the last hit. Oh, wow. Fly, he goes down really fast. Scandal is doing so much damage. This is the power of Skywrath Mage right here. He's just constantly pumping out damage that you can do nothing about. Very dangerous for supports and for anyone that doesn't have any kind of good magic resistance or magic immunity. And I think that was a little bit of a misplay there from Era when he was trying to challenge the rune. He should have raged preemptively, especially after he cast the open wounds, because he knew that he was going to be fighting him. But because he was silenced first, he was not able to rage, and that really cost Fnatic that entire fight. So at this point, that puts Empire at 5-1, 11 minutes in the game. There's a smoke popped on 3 in this mid lane, but there's a ward here from Fnatic, so Era is totally aware he's not going to be feeding another kill to them anytime soon. Does have to be careful though. This is still a dangerous place for him to be.
Is under attack. Dire's structures
He needs to preemptively rage. Notail is here. There's the zip in from Hanni. Pulls in Sunlight, but he's eating a full Mystic Flare. Is forced to jump out. He's the Light Strike Array. He's almost going to go down. Lasso onto Era, and he's silenced. He's eating so much magic damage. Era drops. Fnatic does get Sunlight. Good dodge from Hanni, getting out of the Flame Break. In Light of Heaven, he does not have the mana to maintain the chase onto Hanni. So that was a 2-for-1, again in favor of Empire, and all they got was that Shadow Demon. There is a nice trade here in that Trixi has been down a bottom lane. He's been getting the farm that he needs very desperately.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
But that's about all that's positive from that fight for Fnatic. They lose Arrow once more, and they lose Fly. Really good fights from Empire, and it's very wise of them to be playing this way when they have Skywrath Mage. You have to make use of that early advantage and the incredible damage output that he has. And that's exactly what they're doing. Light of Heaven has his Blink Dagger now. He had it in that last fight as well. Wasn't really relevant. He was able to just walk up to Era and lasso him without a problem. Did not need the Blink. But it's going to make this map even more dangerous for Fnatic as this game goes on. And there's some really aggressive wards. This one faded earlier, but there was a ward here for detecting Trixi. And now there's a ward up here. Which Emperor... Oh! Hanni! Hanni manages to find yet another kill on the Shadow Demon. combined with some help from Era and Fly. I think Fnatic realizing that they're losing map control and they have to group up to deal with all of this, the many different ways that they can be bursted down. And they need to take some towers, because I think unless they do, they're just never going to have the map control to get their carries the farm they need. The late game, I do believe, favors Fnatic. They've got that tricore going with the Storm Spirit, Lifestealer, and Lone Druid, but they've got to get the farm. Skywrath Mage will fall off fairly hard. Weaver won't, but there is only Weaver. Batrider, post 30 minutes, provides great initiation through the lasso, but he's not dealing the damage. Particularly once their BKB's up. Fly! It's gonna be another kill going towards Scandal. That Arcane Bolt is dealing a lot of damage.
It's the humiliation.
Lina picks up the last hit, but that's A-okay, it's a support. There's a blink in from Light of Heaven, he's pulling Era back. Can Era make it out of this? Good rage, uses the open wounds on Light of Heaven. There's the Electric Vortex on Scandal. Disruption onto Scandal is saving his life for the time being. Is he going to be able to walk out of this? He's got a Ghost Scepter, so he's walking away scot-free. Blow Your Brain is in the middle of here. Hanni goes down. Trixi, he's eating a full Mystic Flare. He's dropping really fast. There's a buyback from Hanni. He's porting back in. He wants to find a turnaround in this fight. Era is still alive despite eating that lasso early on. Scandal, he's dropping so low. Finished off with the Infest. Very nice Infest from Era. But now he doesn't have an escape mechanism for this fight. He's got to be careful. Blow Your Brain is dealing a lot of damage. Hanni also has to be careful. Leaps away. He's got two. Yep, the two charges of Shadow Poison make it really easy for him to go down. Bad fight for Fnatic. Really bad. Now, the only upshot there is that Era didn't die.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And they were able to get Scandal down, and Scandal is quickly... He's gonna be a problem for a long time now, particularly because of that Ghost Scepter. That Ghost Scepter kept him alive in that fight for so long. He was able to just immediately use it after the disruption and walk away scot-free. So really nice pickup for him. Excuse me, sneeze. Sorry about that. So a good, just really well played by Empire. Fnatic did their best to turn it around, but ultimately they gave up another tower and 2 kills on Hanni. Hanni, he really had a decent chunk of change before the start of that fight. But it's just the buyback into another death, and he really he got one more kill. If he didn't buy back, there would have been no kills for Fnatic in that fight, most likely. So it wasn't a bad buyback, but it cost too much. Era has popped his rage. The dust misses Blow Your Brain, which Blow Your Brain has the time lapse. There's a heat leap in from Hanni. There's the Electric Vortex. Can they burst down Blow Your Brain fast enough? There's the Illuminate. Time lapse reverses all the damage that Hanni was able to deal. Light of Heaven jumps in, gets the lasso onto Era, but he's immediately lifted by Rubik. Really nice lift from Rubik. And Notail steals lasso. Make sure that Weaver goes down. An immediate buyback from Weaver. He's teleporting back into this fight. Lina's dropping very low. Hanni gets the Vortex onto Sunlight. Sunlight's dropping very low. Blow Your Brain's back in the fight, though. Mystic Flare does a lot of damage to Trixi. Shadow Demon goes down. Good fight for Fnatic so far. 3 for 1. And Blow Your Brain, if he goes down again, that would be huge. But just barely makes it out. Big fight for Fnatic. Scandal, he might finish off the bear here. That's 300. That's a lot. That's 300 gold. Holy shit. That's like killing a tower. God damn. Look at these sentries. They really wanted to kill Blow Your Brain. And so Notail was the MVP in that fight. Light of Heaven jumped in on Era, and he was about to pull Era way out of that fight. And that would have been a huge problem, but an immediate telekinesis from Notail meant that Light of Heaven was going nowhere, and it also allowed Notail to steal lasso, which he then used on Blow Your Brain. So that was a really great fight for Fnatic. It was a 3 for 1 and a buyback on Blow Your Brain. delaying his Lincoln Sphere by quite a bit because he had the cash for that before that death and buyback. And that Lincoln Sphere is going to be critical to his survival in this game. So good for Notail. I wonder if he'll go a blink this game. And that fight is going to keep Fnatic in this game for a good bit longer. I imagine Empire will attempt to keep the aggression up as long as possible. Because they can. They still have that advantage. There's jump by Hanni. Okay, for no reason. They still have an advantage. I mean, look at that. Like, almost past 10,000 gold, and then that fight happened, leveling out a little bit. So about 8,000 gold advantage for Empire right now, 5,000 experience. The experience not so significant, but 8,000 gold certainly means a lot. Light of Heaven, he lands the lasso onto Fly, but another good telekinesis from Fly. Fly's taking life damage. Another stolen lasso, pulling back Lina into right under the tier 3. Empire's got to be careful here. They're diving in between the tier 2 and the tier 3. Sorry, I have a freeze here. Is this going to be a crash? Got to see here. Yeah, looks like a crash. Sorry, guys. I'll get back into the game immediately. I got to remember that I can't keep Chrome open. Can't keep it open whatsoever. Lucky for me, I just looked at the clock, so I know exactly what time to go to. This always happens. It sucks that this happens in the middle of exciting fights, because that's the exact point at which you don't want to crash. During a lull, who cares, but an exciting team fight is a different matter entirely. Okay. Okay, we're at 17, so if we go to 27, that'll put us at 13. And if we go to 37, no, we need 6 more minutes. 34. Okay. So here's the fight once more. Notail critically steals the lasso, pulls Lina very far back into the fight. Empire, they're diving in between the tier 2 and tier 3. They've got to be really careful. Disruption is going to save Lina for the time being. But there's a jump. Chased by Hanni. Nicely dodges the Light Strike array. Era picks up a kill onto Shadow Demon over to the left. Scandal has popped his Ghost Scepter. He's alive for the time being. Laguna Blade used on Era. Era's got to be really careful here. He doesn't have his Infest. Light of Heaven dropping very low. He's got Firefly in 3 seconds, but the Vortex keeps him in place for the time being. Silence onto Hanni. He's going to go down. Nicely played by Scandal. So far, a 2 for 2 in this fight. Trading Light of Heaven and Sunlight for Hanni and Notail. Crazy fight. I can't believe that Lina lived. The disruption from Shadow Demon was critical, and this was so risky for Empire to engage back that far. But ultimately, I gotta find a different word than ultimately. Hating that I use this so often. As a whole, I think it was a good fight for Empire because it could have gone a lot worse. Once Light of Heaven had blinked under the tower, right? I mean they were all the way back here. Once he blinked so far back, they were committed at that point, and I think backing out would have meant giving up at least 1, if not 2 kills for no trades. Armlet is now finished for Era, so he's going to have that in just a moment, which he really needed in that last fight. It's a good case of if there were a more significant farm advantage, or a less significant farm advantage for Empire, just 1 or 2 items up on Fnatic would have really made that a bad fight for Empire by quite a long shot. So pressuring it really just the right time. I don't know if that's intentional or if that just happens to be. They would have chosen to fight regardless of that. It's a good time for Empire to be applying all this pressure. Light of Heaven has finished his Force Staff. That's going to make his initiation a lot less risky. It means that he'll be able to blink in, lasso, and Force Staff his way out, which will make it a lot harder for Notail to be getting these telekineses off and stealing the lasso, because that lasso steal was, again, huge. Notail's playing his balls off on Rubik right now. I don't even know what that means. Kind of like the way it flows, though.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
So 2 Ghost Scepters on Empire right now.
Radiant structures
Shadow
are
Demon
fortified.
and Skywrath Mage. Lina has a Force Staff as well. There's a lasso onto Hanni. No way that he's going to make it out of that. Notail thought about teleporting in, thought better of it very wisely,
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
and that's going to mean a sacked Tier 2
Dire's structures
for
are
Fnatic. I don't
fortified.
think that Fnatic is going to feel very comfortable. Well, they've got that. It's the power of Keeper of the Light. He can delay pushes by quite a bit, and Empire's pushing power is not the best. They're great at these team fights, really good at finding pickoffs, but they've been able to push towers because of their hero advantage, not because they have anything particularly built for pushing. And they currently have no mech or pipe or anything of that sort. I don't know if they'll plan on getting one. I've noticed teams in general have been building their supports more survivable recently. A lot of games with Ghost Scepters and Force Staffs might have something to do with the buff to Force Staff, making it just a little bit cheaper, helping out the supports that would love to get it, which I think was a good idea. Force Staff has been a tough balance item. Probably can't talk about this too long because it looks like there's another fight gearing up. But they rescaled it to have regen instead of attack speed, making it a better item for supports.
Tower is under attack.
And they also made it more expensive because everybody was getting Force Staff, but that made it a problem for supports because it was too expensive for them to pick up.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
100 gold can really make a world of difference for supports who are so frequently starved for farm. Ogre Club picked up on Era. I imagine that will be a Sanj and Yasha, even. Which I think is a great item in this game. He's chasing is an issue against this team, which has so many ways of kiting and some very mobile
Dire's top
heroes.
tower is under attack. Radiant's
Oh, Light of Heaven. He eats the open wounds. He gets Force Staff twice out and then disrupted, so he's not going to die, but Sunlight, he gets pulled in. He's going to have a problem. Era uses all his mana to jump in. He's eating a lot of damage. Mystic Flare finishes him off. Scandal. He goes down to Illuminate from Keeper of the Light.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So, a 4-for-1 for Empire. Light of Heaven, his positioning there was really bad. I think that's the only way to put it, is that it's just he should not have been there. He's got a Force Staff and a Blink Dagger. He doesn't have to be standing that close. And so as a result, he eats the open wounds, which forces his team to use 2 Force Staffs on him and the Disruption, which meant that they had no defensive abilities for anyone else on the team. And they didn't even save Light of Heaven. And then he buys back. So that's an even higher cost to that fight. I mean, that's basically a 5-for-1. So a poor positioning choice by Light of Heaven really costs Empire in that fight, and they should know that they've got to be careful. Particularly the Illuminate blasts. I believe there were 2 Illuminates from Fly in that fight, dealing large AoE damage, and everybody was grouped up all around here, eating a lot of that damage. And the Ghost Scepters do nothing against that. In fact, they make it a lot worse. So I think these Ghost Scepter pickups, what if they were pipes? I have to wonder how differently such a fight would have gone. A mech, too, would really go a long way for Empire. With such a farm advantage, that's an item like mech can really solidify your lead and make sure that you're not giving anything up. Lincoln Sphere was done for Blow Your Brain in that fight, and now he's picked up drums. He's also got Aquila, so he's fairly tanky. The damage is not yet there, but I'm sure his next item will be something in that regard. Era has finished his Sanj and is not far off from his Yasha. That SMY will really be, I think, actually quite strong in these fights, allowing him to just be a lot more aggressive. Especially if he gets a basher after that. One of the reasons that I like SMY is because it combos very nicely with basher, providing a lot of attack speed and making sure that you're on top of people, auto-attacking as much as possible, making chain stuns more viable. There's another pause. This will be the 4th one this game. Thankfully not too long. So Blow Your Brain does have 2,800 gold on his way to that next big item pickup. Would like to see a Desolator. There's only one agility hero on the side of Fnatic, and that's Trixi, who's naturally tanky, so that's
Over here now.
bursting him down is not such an issue, but it is really good at dealing with the bear. Increases their pushing power. I think it would be a very strong pickup this game. Scandal's picked up an ultimate orb, which I imagine that will be a Scythe of Vice, getting more disable that I believe Empire really needs. They've got Disruption, Light Strike Array, Lasso, and then the Silence. But this is a Tricore, and there's a lot... Fnatic has a Tricore, and there's a lot of heroes that you need to be disabling. It's not a 4 Protect 1 where you can just focus on one after the next. You have to manage multiple heroes at once, or any one of them can deal the damage necessary to lose the fight. So that extra disable will be necessary for Empire. Nothing picked up on Fly yet. Hanni, poor Hanni, he's been pretty poor this game. Almost finishing his Orchid, and that will be very useful. A really good way of dealing with all these supports. You don't need hard disables to get to nullify supports. You just need a Silence. And Silence is also good versus Scandal, as Scandal will not be picking up a BKB. It would be an undesirable item for Skywrath Mage. Just doesn't scale very well with him. SNY is finished on Era. And I didn't mention this earlier, but Trixi finished the the Basher on his Bear. So it's another form of lockdown. Very good for dealing with Weaver. And I think that's a problem for Weaver in this late game. Even if he had the damage he needed, gotta be careful. Notail's here. Although Notail, he's TPing away. Very good game sense. Recognizing that... Oh, yep, gonna make it out. Very narrowly. That would have been a catastrophic death because he had not yet purchased his Orchid. Yeah, really nice. They didn't even have any wards. Fnatic didn't have any wards to see the smoke coming, but they just knew that there were a lot missing and they had to get back.
Illusion.
But Bash is a problem for Weaver because Lincoln Sphere does nothing about that. And it can really, really screw up your time lapses. A 1 second difference caused by a stun from a Bash
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
can be the difference between life and death.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Does it teleport in from Scandal? Scandal's gotta be careful. Fnatic could take this fight. Blow Your Brain is not there. But he gets recalled by Keeper of the Light, so... There's the Lifestealer Bomb onto Storm Spirit. Light of Heaven. He pulls back Notail, but Notail, he actually gets Force Staff twice. Disruption saves Light of Heaven for the time being. Lina goes down. Era going man mode. Gets purged. Is held off for the time being. But there's the entangle onto Blow Your Brain and the bash. This is what I was talking about. He doesn't get the time lapse off. So Blow Your Brain goes down. Sunlight soon to follow. 3 for 1 in this fight, which looked to be a good start for Empire. But lassoing Notail, I don't know about that decision. They pulled him far back. They furthered the power of the lasso by using Force Staffs to further. Wait, what? Oh, never mind. There were Force Staffs used on Notail to get him further forward, and I just don't know about that decision either, because you're wasting your Force Staffs, which are very, very powerful defensive item, to try and further a kill on Rubik. And Rubik steals. Notail's been making some great steals in this game, but he's not the most dangerous person in these fights. Fnatic picks up Roche. Era takes the Aegis. And I think that is really the turning point of this game. Fnatic is now going to be ahead. The gold graph doesn't quite show it that way because there is a 4-tower lead for Empire, but the experience graph, on the other hand, tells the story quite nicely, dropping steeply past the horizon into Fnatic's favor. And I really start to worry for Empire at this point in the game. Light of Heaven has not been having some great lassos. Not to focus too much on, or not to beat the dead horse too much, but he had to lasso somebody else, a higher value target. Hanni is really the ideal. Because Hanni provides so much utility in these fights, and actually, in that fight, Lifestealer was infested inside of Hanni, and it would have been even better. Which is something that Empire should expect.
Bottom tower is under attack.
And I think it's okay.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
It would have been okay to lasso Hanni back into the fight if it included Era, because then you're just bringing 2 further back, separating them out, and separating out Fnatic is important for winning these fights. So Fnatic in very short order takes 2 towers. They're closing that gold gap quite rapidly. Blow Your Brain, he goes for the Manta style as his next item. That increases his survivability, and it's a way of dealing with the entangle, but it's still not a lot of damage. Not that he's hitting for nothing, but this Tricore from Fnatic is getting really farmed. You need more than just 22 agility and some attack speed. Oh, there's a lasso onto Notail again. This should be a free kill for Empire. So they find a trade there, but it's just a support, and that's still a tier 2 tower. 3 towers down in the space of about 2 minutes for Fnatic. Watch that gold graph. Just plummet. Hyperstone picked up on Trixi's bear. He's also carrying a gem. A very necessary tool for dealing with Weaver. Light of Heaven has picked up his Ogre Club and wants to pick up a BKB, but I'd question the utility of that in this game. With what I'm sure will be 2 bashers, because I expect Era to pick up his own, as well as the entangle, there's just not a lot of survivability that a BKB is going to provide in this game. Now Scandal, he could kill Hanni here. Hanni really has to be careful. Scandal has to be as fast as possible, though. He doesn't have any stuns. Good TP out by Hanni. Was certainly not aware of Scandal, but if he had tried to walk back any further, Scandal might have been able to turn that into... perhaps... I wonder if Scandal shouldn't have just gone for it immediately. Casting the concussive shot from the other side of the trees, making it less likely that Hanni would see it come, because Because you have to get the slow off before you cast the Mystic Flare. Oh, blow your brain. Does Fnatic know he's here? Notail is all. Seems like he's acting like there's the dust. Entangle. Vortex. Blow your brain is not going to be able to get the time lapse off. He goes down once more. Things starting to look very grim for Empire. But yeah, the combo with Skywrath Mage, you have to get the slow off before you cast a Mystic Flare so that they stay inside the AoE. Otherwise, hanni almost certainly would have just walked out. That said, you can also start with the silence, then the slow, and finish it off with the Mystic's Flare. 3,600 gold on hanni. I wonder what he'll be picking up next. A BKB would be very strong on him. Honestly, kind of surprised he didn't go for that first.
Radiant's top tower is under
Because of the
attack.
Skywrath, and that's definitely causing a lot of trouble in these fights. There's the BKB.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
The last tier 2 drops on the side of Empire. Fnatic now has full map control. They've still got the Aegis, but that's going to go down in about 40 seconds, so they're probably not going to be able to make use of it. Air is too tanky to drop that fast. Not to mention Empire won't fall for that kind of bait. Fnatic is grouped up here. Do they have smoke? There's no smoke, but they don't really need it. I think they're just waiting patiently. They want somebody to come up into this top lane. hanni will jump in. Blow your brain. Oh, blow your brain. It may be too late.
Looking for me?
It's too late. The electric vortex. Blow your brain. Goes down. Oh, he gets the time lapse off. I was wrong. Goes down nonetheless. Able to burst through all of his HP in no time.
Touché.
4 staff from Shadow Demon will pull him back. Make sure he doesn't get soloed by the bear. But that AC is done on Trixi's bear. Has been for a few minutes. I don't know what Empire can do about this. Light of Heaven would have to find a beastly...
Where's the body?
Oh, there's the jump in. Vortex Disruption saves Lina for now. And Light of Heaven tries to lasso.
Over here.
Lasso Trixi. Just gets torn apart. Blow your brain. He gets his time lapse off, so he's going to live for the time being. Laguna Blade is used on hanni, but they're just chasing Fnatic out for the moment. So Sunlight. He gets the Ghost Scepter off. That'll save him from the bear for just a moment. Disruption also delays his death just a little bit longer, but 2 more auto attacks from Era. hanni picks up the last hit. A misused Vortex by hanni gets a creep, doesn't get Blow Your Brain. That's okay. There's still 2 down for Empire. Fnatic does have to be careful here. Era's dropping very low. He rages. Mystic Flare does nothing. Scandal. 4 staffs and Ghost Scepter his way out, but Fly able to get the Illuminate and finish him off. Lina, he finishes out the team wipe. Fnatic takes it. 39 minutes in, 21 to 25, a really fantastic game.
Radiant's top tower.
Very well played by Empire. Honestly, that was one of their better performances in the last,
Radiant's top barracks.
I gotta say, two to 3 months.
Radiant's top barracks has fallen.
They really had a chance to win in this game. But I think some questionable item choices. Not that there's, I shouldn't say, there's nothing wrong with Ghost Scepter at all. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to pick up in this game. But they never picked up a mech. They never got a pipe.
Radiant's middle barracks
And that pipe is necessary for breaking the base when you're trying to go up against a Keeper of the Light. And I would say the true turning point of this game was up here at top when Fnatic took a 4-for-1. And Empire really quite possibly could have taken the base.
Radiant's middle tower
It was
has fallen.
within their
Radiant's
grasp.
ancient is under attack.
But some of the poor positioning from Light of Heaven, that didn't help either. Blowing all the 4 staffs, the disruption, that didn't help. But a mech and a pipe would have meant a lot more effective HP for Empire, especially since Fnatic was so underfarmed. Empire just had a massive tower advantage, and they could have, I think they really could have brought this game to a victory with just a little bit better play and item pickups in the first 25 minutes. Great play from Fnatic. Cool to see that Lone Druid is still not out of the meta, because I like him, just not seeing him every game.